Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Jon Campea.
Somebody brought up Airwolf, and now I just got in my head all day. I'm just going to be humming that all day. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Also your host of Collider Heroes, Jon Schnepp.
I just can't get my mind off of Exo Squad because of this guy right here. Right. It's like, what is it? Oh,
also here's Jeremy Jahns.
I'm Jeremy Jahns, and I was raised on the good stuff like Exo Squad, and today John's water is not orange, and that's freaking me out.
Also here's Mark Ellis.
The best 80s action TV show theme of all time. We all know it. It's the A-Team. Come on, man. You guys want to run a band after the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we should do, just recite. I think one day for Movie Talk, we should just get one script from one episode of A-Team, and just each take one character, and we just do a script read of A-Team.
I will play Murdoch, Face.
You gotta be Murdoch.
B.A. Brex, I'll be any of them.
All right, let's get started.
All right. According to an exclusive report from Variety, Woody Harrelson is in early talks to play Han Solo's mentor in the upcoming spin-off film starring Alden Ehrenreich, Donald Glover, and Emilia Clarke. Variety sources say that Harrelson is Lucasfilm's top choice, with executives wanting the role to go to an actor with considerable clout. The as-of-yet untitled Star Wars spin-off about Han Solo will be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller and is tentatively set for release on May 25th, 2018. John, what do you think about Woody Harrelson joining the young Han Solo spin-off movie?
This is one of those things. Remember, this has not been confirmed by anybody, neither Harrelson's reps nor Disney nor anybody. So let's just keep that in mind. This has not been confirmed by anybody. All right, that being said, if we sat down, Ellis, if you came to me and said, hey, let's brainstorm some ideas about who could be like a mentor character in a Han Solo movie.
As I have many times.
Often, very often. I don't know that Woody Harrelson is a name that would have come to my mind, but upon hearing it, I went, yeah. That really works. Especially when you consider like Lord and Miller directing. We know that Woody Harrelson, look, I'm fresh off of seeing him in On the Edge of 17.
Yes.
Which is fantastic, and he is so good in it. He's a straight guy who's completely hilarious while playing. He's kind of straight man while hilarious at the same time. Right. It's great. I don't know how he pulled it off, but he did such a good job in it. The mentor role, obviously, the first thing that's going to come to a lot of our minds is him playing Hamish in, of course, Hunger Games, but this would be a different kind of character than seeing the trailer of the new Apes movie with him there. You know what? This makes sense to me. I hear about it. Now, look, I'm still not super happy that they're doing a Han Solo movie. I'm going to be the first one in line to watch it, absolutely. But so far, their casting choices have been really good. Their cinematographer choice has been really good. You got Lord and Miller directing it. This sounds like a really good fit. I don't know, Ellis, what do you think?
When they casted Donald Glover, that's when I started thinking, okay, maybe I am going to get really excited for a Han Solo movie. And then adding Woody Harrelson to that mix shows me that they're really going after a sense of humor here, too. That there's going to be a mentor role. There's going to be a lot of action for sure. But what Woody Harrelson is great at doing is even in something that can get as serious as the Hunger Games, he can be very funny. It doesn't have to be overtly hilarious, like even something we saw in Edge of 17 where he is another mentor kind of character. I really like this idea. I don't know that it's the first person I would have thought of either, but I like to give myself the credibility that I would. So now I'm saying yes, of course, Woody Harrelson makes perfect sense.
Schnepp.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't break a cookie in half. It's like, here you go, to Han Solo. Even though that was one of my favorite scenes from that movie. He's really kind of cemented his role as like the bad guy, the crazy dude, or the mentor. You know, it's like, when I heard that he was going to be Han Solo's mentor, I was like, totally, no, awesome. I didn't even have any issues or qualms with like thinking about who else could they have gotten, because Woody Harrelson's perfect as in that role. He's just a great actor. So I think the casting is really smart. They're getting really good actors to be in the Han Solo film. So I can't wait to see if he's the guy who did the Kessel Run and Han Solo's really just lying.
He could be Han Solo's bartender, and we get a Cheers tie-in.
Oh.
Jeremy.
Yeah, when I first heard Han Solo was going to have a mentor, I was like, I don't want Han Solo to have a mentor. It's like Woody Harrelson. It's like, that guy can do anything. So, all right, I have to be excited. Think about Woody Harrelson. He does drama. He does mentor. He does comedy, like you said, Cheers. But usually when someone is good at something, something else drops, everything is 100%. He doesn't have to allocate any points anywhere like it's an RPG or anything like that. The dude can do anything. I feel like Woody Harrelson can be in every movie as a part, and he will always fit. What can I say? I love the dude. and I love Han Solo. I think there's a good fit.
I think Han Solo has always struck me as a guy who maybe didn't have the best parental influences.
Which is why he's perfect.
Right.
So maybe he needs some sort of father figure in his life, and then maybe Woody Harrelson can step in and be that, because Han Solo does have a sense of humor. He is a bit of a scoundrel. That's exactly who Woody Harrelson can play. I love this call.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because it sounded like you were saying, it sounds like Han Solo didn't have good parental influences, so Woody Harrelson can be that. It's like,
But
no.
he could be. He could be like a Mr. Miyagi was kind of like, hey, come on over, do some karate.
What if
Woody
he's
Harrelson's going to be a dick.
What if Woody
great.
Harrelson could be like Natural Born Killers Woody Harrelson, where he's actually like a kind of a bad mentor, and Han Solo has to like get away from him. That's where he got all of his scoundrelism.
So you see, like, for the Planet of the Apes.
You're kind of picturing a Guardians of the Galaxy of Star-Lord and
Giant planet
Pinhead.
face ego. Of course.
what's his name?
Michael Rooker.
What's Michael
Pinhead.
Rooker's name? And why am I
my
forgetting his name?
Whistle Spike.
I have now been
thing,
mind
yeah.
blank.
And but you know what? Here's
Yes.
the thing. I knew for a long time that Woody Harrelson could be funny because our first exposure to him, of course, was Cheers and all that kind of stuff. But it was about seven or 8 years ago when he did that movie with Ben Foster called The Messenger, where they played military guys where their job is to go and let families know their loved ones have that one. That was the one to me when I went, this Woody Harrelson dude can do anything. He can do anything. And then, of course, he did, what was the name of the TV show again he just did with Matthew McConaughey?
True Detective.
True
He's
Detective,
incredible
which
in
blew
that.
everybody away.
God.
This guy's ability to chameleon himself into any role he needs to play is damn impressive. And that's why, it's one of the many reasons why I think this could work out to be really good. Again, if it's true, no confirmation yet, but if it is, I think it's a good move. All right, what's next?
In an interview with Variety, Ryan Reynolds revealed that he has an idea and an outline for a Deadpool/Wolverine movie that he hopes to get Hugh Jackman involved with, even though Jackman is planning on hanging up the claws after his appearance in this March's Logan. While speaking with the outlet, Reynolds said he would like to play Deadpool for as long as they would let me, as well as saying he hopes he can convince Jackman to join up with him one last time as Wolverine. I have no idea if I can change his mind. It's the audience. I would exclusively exploit that relationship to get Hugh back for another one. Jeremy, do you think there's any chance Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman will ever team up for a Wolverine Deadpool movie?
Well, yeah, like we talked about on this show, Deadpool wouldn't fit in the Logan movie coming out, and the Logan movie is supposed to be Hugh Jackman's last run as Wolverine. That being said, if it all comes together sometime down the road, I feel like Wolverine could be in a Deadpool movie somehow. Like you said, though, like Ryan Reynolds said, it's all about if the fans want it. If the fans want it enough, the studios are going to want it. If the studios want it enough, the answer to 9/10 of the world's problems and issues is money. So they'll give them enough to sweeten the pot, to make them think about it. I feel like it's certainly possible, but you have to give it the right amount of time. Enough time for Hugh Jackman to miss being Wolverine, then you bring in Ryan Reynolds with the good pitch, and then it can happen. It's possible. I don't know how likely it is, but I want to see it.
I want to see this so
Yeah.
bad. Now, there was an update, I believe it was in the Hollywood Reporter last night. They updated a story where they got a comment from Hugh Jackman where he said, this sounds like a great, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but basically what Hugh Jackman said, this sounds like a great idea. It's a perfect fit, like Deadpool and Wolverine together. But then he said, I'm just not sure that the timing is right. And by timing, it's probably him announcing that I'm done as Wolverine. But look, don't count this out. Like I am 100% convinced that Jackman will at least cameo. We'll do a quick cameo in the next Deadpool movie. I feel really certain about that. But can you do a Deadpool Wolverine movie where it's a Deadpool movie and you bring Wolverine into it? You can do it. And now look, there's two ways of looking at this. If Jackman does this new Logan, and everybody loves it, and everybody's calling out for it, and all that kind of stuff, I guarantee you, reading all the stuff that we've read about Hugh Jackman, I think this is what it's going to come down to. Jackman's kids. I honestly think it'll come down to Jackman's kids. If Jackman's kids go to Jackman and say, we really want you to do this, from everything we've all read about Jackman, the way he listens to his kids and all that kind of stuff, I think that's it. The studios are going to start putting dump trucks full of money to kids' preschools and to their high schools, and where they're like, talk to dad. But I think ultimately that's what it come down to.
I got this really dark scenario of these studio execs sitting around like, can we get him? No, sir. He has children, doesn't he? Yes. Perfect. That's really the shady stuff.
Schnepp.
I was gonna say Wolverine, Deadpool, never say never again, because I don't even think that Hugh Jackman's gonna get a chance to be Sean Connery and let someone else play Wolverine. I think he's like, I'm retiring. What? No way. I mean, this is a perfect film. It's like, sure, Logan could be the best last Wolverine movie, but everyone, including Hugh Jackman, wants to see a Wolverine Deadpool movie. I think it would be fantastic. Both of those guys' chemistry is perfect. Hugh Jackman is naturally funny, so I could totally see him being
so
in
good.
Deadpool, breaking the fourth wall, ripping on Deadpool to us, the audience. I want to see that movie so bad that both reports of Hugh Jackman are, I'm hesitating, I'm not sure. Remember, he was like, I'm retiring, this is the last movie, and now he's saying, I'm not sure. Why? Because this is an awesome idea, and if they could do it, I'd rather see this than Deadpool 2, but they're already going to make Deadpool 2, so why not have Hugh Jackman do a little cameo? It's like, that's right, I'm not retiring, whatever. Make a joke about it, then just straight up do a Wolverine Deadpool film.
And with X-Men, like how much fun they've already had massaging the different timelines and stuff, it's the perfect franchise to be able to be like, you know what? We get it. We're going to go back to what we're building here. We're not going to take anything away from what you just saw in Logan. However, we're going to be like Marvel's run of What If comics back in the day. We're just going to make a movie where we have Deadpool and Wolverine because you love these characters so much. It does not have to tie into anything. It can be a one-off. They just have some crazy road trip, post-apocalyptic adventure, and it's those two characters. Because you're right. I think that we are going to see Wolverine cameo at least in a Deadpool movie coming up, but I would love it for it to be almost like a Thor Ragnarok situation, where we know it's Thor's movie, but we're really excited to see the Hulk. I would love to see that with Deadpool and Wolverine because I think that we have come to the time, we've come to that crossroads where not everything has to tie in to a larger canon universe. We can just have fun with a movie that stars two characters we really want to see have at least one adventure.
When you brought up Hugh Jackman in comedies, it reminds me, there's this little comedy he did. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but he did it with Ashley Judd and Greg Kinnear, and it was called Someone Like You, where Hugh Jackman was in 2001, where he plays like this misogynistic, sexist player kind of guy, and then him and Ashley Judd. It's the old cow. It's a really fun, sweet comedy. It's one of the first movies I saw Hugh Jackman in after he did Wolverine. So if you get a chance to see that, by all means, make sure you go out and see it. So let me ask you guys this. Okay, we've talked about why we would like it, all that kind of stuff. Realistically, not cameo, but realistically, over or under 50%, right down the middle, the chances that at some point we're going to see a Wolverine Deadpool movie, Schnepp, over or under 50%?
Way over 50%.
Okay, remember, not just cameo, a legit movie.
A full Wolverine Deadpool film with both of them. I'm talking about $1 billion. Nobody wants to walk away from that kind of fun and money and awesomeness. So,
Jeremy.
This is the top 2 of 3 top Marvel characters, Spider-Man omitted, over 50% for sure.
Mark.
I would say under because I know that Christian Bale got offered a lot to come back and be Batman, and he's just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. But I think that Hugh Jackman loves playing this particular character so much, I'm going to go above 50%.
I want this badly, and I think it's like, if the over-under line was 30, I would go over. I'm going to go under because I'm convinced Jackman really does think he's... Because remember, he wanted to retire as Wolverine like 4 years ago. So I'm going to go under, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and really hope that it actually comes to fruition. Anyway, all right, guys, it is Wednesday, which means it's time for us to talk about Rewind, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. This is the Feeling Old segment of the show because we're talking about films that are celebrating their 10th birthdays today and their 20th birthdays, celebrating their 10-year anniversaries. All-time classics lined up here, folks. We've got Codename The Cleaner with Cedric the Entertainer. We've got Freedom Writers, and we've got Happily Never After. And celebrating their 20th anniversaries, awesome movie, Jackie Chan's First Strike, Turbulence with an evil Ray Liotta, and The Relic. I got to start with you, Jeremy, because I know one of these anniversary films has a special place in your heart.
Only one of them do I like. Most of them I recognize the posters as movies I didn't see, but I have to preface this: Mom, take it easy on Barb. So my aunt, who I just named, The Relic came out. I was in junior high. She was like, "You have to see it." I ditched class. My brother and I stood outside like we're dodging teachers. We're like, "All right, just don't take us to detention." My aunt came by. It was like jump on the moving wagon kind of thing.
Did you really just throw your aunt under the bus?
Yeah.
All right.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. And we got in the car. Boom. Went over to the movie theater and watched The Relic. It was so awesome. I don't even know if it's good. I haven't seen it since, but I remember at the time it was so awesome. It was Sizemore and Penelope Ann Miller taking on a beast that looked like the bull alien toy I used to have. It had like pinchers. It would jump. It would kill people. It would rip their brains out and eat them. What can I say? I had a good time. That's a junior high student's dream right there, is to skip class and watch a movie like that. I lived it.
Schnepp, any of these films stand out to you?
Happily never saw most of the films, is what I would call all of them, except for The Relic.
Yeah.
And the standout for me, since I'm a lot older, my friend wrote the algorithmic render shader for the slime when it's licking Penelope Miller. That's what I remember from. I went and saw the film. I was like, yeah, it's taking place at a museum, and there's a weird, creepy monster. Awesome. I kind of enjoyed it. It's not the greatest horror film in the world, but it's fun. But that's what my takeaway is. Oh, yeah, the render shader.
Mark, what stands out to you?
John, I haven't seen any of these movies. Back to you.
You never saw The Relic?
Nah, I mean, look, this is why I'm so happy I'm a huge football fan, because this is when the playoffs start to happen in January, and you have a distraction for all the awful movies that are coming out, because none of these look particularly good. I'll give a little bit of a pass to Jackie Chan's First Strike, because that was after Rumble in the Bronx,
Right.
and American audiences were really excited to see Jackie Chan on screen. So that looks like something that would have an audience and have a lot of fun with it. But pretty much everything else, it's like, I get Freedom Writers, maybe you were going for an Oscar and you didn't get it, so now you're just going to release it in January instead. It's just, I'm really glad there was good stuff on TV during this time.
All right, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
A new TV spot has been released for Disney's Beauty and the Beast. The 30-second spot offers up a few bits of new footage that feature a better look at Emma Watson and Dan Stevens' Belle and the Beast. The movie is directed by Bill Condon and also stars Luke Evans, Josh Gad, Kevin Kline, Ewan McGregor, Stanley Tucci, Ian McKellen, and Emma Thompson. It is set to hit theaters on March 17th. Mark, buy or sell the new TV spot for Beauty and the Beast, and do you still think it will debut with $200 million on opening weekend?
Well, first of all, I sell the positioning of the Beast's hands. Relax, guy. It's a first date, okay? Let's leave some room for the Holy Ghost there. Secondly, I think that, I think this thing's way over. I saw this TV ad and I was like, we might go up to $210 million. It looks spectacular. It looks like everything that every fan of Beauty and the Beast, when they saw it as a kid, dreamed of seeing one day on the big screen. It's exactly what we're going to get. I thought the trailer was really well done, and I am still holding to my assertion that it's going to be $200 million strong.
How's your date, Belle? It was good, but he got a little handsy. His name is literally the Beast. What? I think this movie, everything I see of this movie gets me more excited for it. I'll be honest with you. I think this is going to be absolutely spectacular. When they first announced Beauty and the Beast live action, I thought, it's a little risky. Because remember, when we first heard word that they were going to do this movie, we were still coming off of like Maleficent and stuff like that I wasn't happy with at all. But then they did Cinderella, kind of crushed that. But I'm telling you, what I have seen, what I have heard out of this movie, this thing included, I'm just getting more and more excited. I still don't think it can make $200 million opening weekend.
Come on, man.
But I think this movie is going to be awesome, and I cannot wait.
I'm going to be laughing at the phrase "save some room for the Holy Ghost" for literally a month and a half. This is one of the funniest. I don't know why. I was just over here dying when the camera wasn't on me. No, this looks great. Disney's found their stride. You know, they tried the live action thing, and they weren't landing until Cinderella, and they were like, okay, let's try Jungle Book, and they learned, stick to the source material, expand where you can, but don't detrimentally change things, and that's what it looks like what they're doing with Beauty and the Beast. It's a great TV spot. I'm more and more excited for this thing. Yeah, bring it on. I love the music. I love the fact that the TV spot has the music I'm familiar with. They're keeping the feeling of it. And you go, Beast. It's technically speaking the second or third date at this point. She lives with you.
That's right. It's Beauty and Captain Hansy. I think they're going to have a really dark ending where the Beast dies.
Oh, no.
They're going to change everything. Because they're like, can she break the spell? That's part of the TV. Can she? And then like, this movie version is totally different. No, you're absolutely right. They're going to stick to the animated classic that is going to make them another $1 billion. The spot looks amazing, beautiful. There's nothing more I can say that they didn't say.
Do you guys, any of you guys think that Beauty and the Handsy Paws has a chance of making $200 million opening
No.
weekend?
Opening weekend? No.
No.
Okay.
Making $200 million, yes. Opening weekend, I got to say no. But just to prove the point that all of us on Twitter have the collective intelligence of a thumb pin, like seriously, I had somebody tweet me about a week ago, like making this argument that it's such BS. If they're going to do Beauty and the Beast, it should have been based on the Kristen Kirk TV show. that it should be. You remember that one? I think
Linda
was
Hamilton
CW.
was in it.
Like, yeah, the
Yeah,
one
with
with Ron Perlman.
and Ron
where he was
Perlman as the Beast.
No. I'm talking about the one that was on.
Oh yeah, they did a recent one.
Oh,
Yeah, with
Beast,
Chris-
Beastie or
or
Beastless.
Yeah, the Beast or
Oh, my
something
God.
like that. They thought it should have been a movie. This is an outrage. This is an insult to all the fans. I'm like, wow.
That would have made
This is-
$20 million. Opening weekend. That'd be good.
Just out of confusion. Like,
Yeah.
where's the yellow dress?
All right, what's next?
A new action-heavy Russian trailer has been released for Wonder Woman. The Patty Jenkins-directed feature stars Gal Gadot and is the latest installment in Warner Brothers DC Films universe. The movie will hit theaters ahead of the highly anticipated Justice League on June 2nd, and also stars Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, David Thewlis, Lucy Davis, and Danny Houston. Schnepp, buy or sell the new international trailer for Wonder Woman.
I buy that freeze frame of her blasting through the window.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The 3.5 frames that they added to this international trailer that I had to watch twice to be like, what's new in this? Oh, the one guy falling for an extra half second. I don't know. I can't really tell if there's any new footage. It's just extended seconds of scenes and rearranged. But I still buy it because I cannot wait to see this film. It looks really well directed. It looks like it's going to be a thrilling action adventure with Wonder Woman, so I can't help but not buy it, even though there's like nothing really that new in the trailer.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they're not showing a lot of new stuff for the sake of we don't want to ruin the movie. There are secrets that you may or may not see. The Wonder Woman trailer was my favorite trailer that came out during Comic-Con, where we're all like sitting around like, all right, let's watch these trailers. Wonder Woman, it has the visual appeal, it looks exciting, and the fact that it takes place during a war, I have to assume Ares, the god of war, is going to have some part in this, and I'm hoping they're keeping him out of the trailers, and that's why we keep seeing the same stuff. There's a lot of pressure on Wonder Woman. I kind of get excited about that because, to save the DC Cinematic Universe in the eyes of a lot of people, this has to land. If it does, it will be one of the biggest saving graces for a cinematic franchise possibly ever. Looking forward to it. I think this trailer is awesome.
It does feel a little bit. It's a huge buy for me. I mean, it feels a little bit like it might not be the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, but it's time for DC to hit a home run. And everything this movie's shown us so far is that it's going to knock it out of the stadium. It might have been a lot of similar shots, but for whatever reason, it felt like the most action-heavy trailer we've gotten thus far from Wonder Woman. It looks like a great action ride. Gal looks amazing as Wonder Woman, and I think Patty Jenkins just has such an eye for who this character is, but also how much ass she can kick. And I think that that's going to add up to such a great summer movie experience and give Justice League a lot of good headway moving into the fall.
I still, after watching this, I still do not think that Wonder Woman will be the best comic book movie of the year, but because of all the really interesting question marks surrounding it and what's at stake for the universe as a whole, it is my most anticipated comic book movie of the year. And we're talking about a year where we got Logan coming out. We're talking about a year where we've got Guardians of the Galaxy 2 coming out. Where we got Spider-Man, Thor Ragnarok. And yet the one I am most anticipating to see because of all these wonderful question marks that are surrounding it is Wonder Woman. You're right. There's not much here that's new that we haven't seen before. I'm going to buy it, though, simply because I liked it before. I'm going to still like it now. So I'm going to stick on that. All right, what's next?
Back when James Gunn was casting the role of Star-Lord's father in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Matthew McConaughey's name surfaced as one of the top choices for the part. Clearly, that never happened as McConaughey passed on the role that eventually went to Kurt Russell. McConaughey recently shed some light on the reasons why during an interview with Playboy, in which the actor revealed that it came down to a choice between doing Guardians or the Dark Tower adaptation. I like Guardians of the Galaxy, but what I saw was it's successful, and now we've got room to make a colorful part for another big-name actor. I'd feel like an amendment. The Dark Tower script was well written. I like the director, Nikolai Arcel, and his take on it, and I can be the creator, the author of The Man in Black, aka The Devil, in my version of this Stephen King novel. John, buy or sell Matthew McConaughey's choice in taking the Dark Tower over Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I buy both this story and the way you say Playboy. This is look. This is really good reasoning on the half of Matthew McConaughey, because look, walking into Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for an actor in his particular position is that there's not a lot of upside for him, but a lot of potential downside. Because you're Matthew McConaughey, you're still enjoying the benefits of the reconnaissance and all that kind of stuff. You've got a absolutely beloved property. You go in there and the movie's great and you do a great job, it's what was expected of you. You go in there, though, and become a detriment to the movie, or the movie isn't as good as it was before, and people are saying, well, what was new? McConaughey was new to it. And there is a big potential downside to that. Plus, he's right. I would have loved to see McConaughey in Guardians of the Galaxy, but to see him in this world is a better fit, I think. And I'm super excited to see Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as well. So overall, I think this was smart planning on his part. I think this was good decisions as part of him and his representation. So I got to buy it. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, when I heard Matthew McConaughey was playing the Man in Black, I was like, you just instantly think of McConaughey's kind of devilish persona, driving in his Lincoln. You're like, yeah, this guy could completely crush that. And so, when he has good reasoning behind it. He's like, I was just kind of feeling that I could do more with that as a creator, as an actor, than I could do with that, So, I mean, go where you're inspired, go where you're influenced, and he went there, and I think he is a perfect role for the Dark Tower fit, but I feel like more people could fill something in Guardians of the Galaxy, and you have a good point about the fact that it's like, well, I mean, if it's not as good, people are on a witch hunt, like we need to find a reason, a fall guy, and he'd be the fall guy, so I'm really pumped that he's the Man in Black in Dark Tower.
Schnepp.
If I was the decision to play Ego the Living Planet or Randall Flagg, one of the greatest creations that Stephen King has ever written, starting out in The Stand when I was a little kid,
I'm glad you know it was Flagg.
reading that character when he first showed up, and ever since I heard the rumor that Matthew McConaughey might play him like years ago when Ron Howard was still involved, I was like, please let Matthew McConaughey play it. Perfect casting. So I'm really glad that he decided to go with that, let alone just being able to create his own role and character, whatever all the words that he said about why he decided not to do Guardians. I think it's perfect. It's a perfect match for him to play that character.
Mark.
Yeah, I buy it as well because Matthew McConaughey likes being the star. Like Jeremy brought up the Lincoln commercials. You watch those and you're like, this dude loves being a movie star. like there's a reason why he's in the Lincoln by himself and not with the rest of the cast of Sing. Like he likes being front and center in these things. So I think it makes perfect sense that he gets to explore more of a character, get a little more in depth, and frankly just get more screen time than you would have with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We're already going to see Guardians 2 because we love the Guardians. That would have been, I think Matthew McConaughey would rather be the actual cake than just the icing on top of it.
A funny thing, Idris Elba, going to get to see Matthew McConaughey play against Idris Elba in this, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. I flew back from the Christmas holidays and landed just a couple days ago, landed at LAX, the Los Angeles airport. And then I look over, and there's UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping, just standing there waiting for his limo driver. He didn't know, he was on the phone like, where are you, limo driver? And then I look over here, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's Idris Elba. And Idris Elba's standing over here, totally in glasses, black jacket, hat, collar up, facing the wall. He turned around a couple times to talk to somebody to get some information, but he just stood there because he knew he would get mobbed. I just thought it was kind of funny. All right, guys, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for our Wednesday feature of Crash Course. Of course, you can find Crash Course, a new Crash Course airs every Sunday here on Collider Video. A lot of people still don't really kind of understand or have questions about why is it that Marvel can't use X-Men? Why is it that Deadpool can't show up in the Avengers? Well, this week's Crash Course is about just that, talking about Marvel and the licensing of their characters. Check it out.
Sony has Spider-Man, Fox has X-Men and the Fantastic Four, but why is this? If Marvel created them, shouldn't the studio be allowed to use them? We hate to tell you, but the answer is no. And Collider Crash Course is here to tell you why. So why can't Marvel use, let's say, Wolverine or the Fantastic Four in their cinematic universe? First of all, because we live in a world where things like licensing rights exist. Second of all, and rather unfortunately, we live in a world where we need something called money. This need extends to large corporations who literally need it like humans need blood. There was also the 90s, and while it gave us incredible things like Ecto coolers and Jenko jeans, it was really bad to the comic book industry. And not just because it gave us Asbats and feral Wolverine. Despite the fact the speculative market really took off, giving way to one of the highest grossing years in comic book history, 1993, the same year that gave us Jurassic Park, Got Milk, and Magic the Gathering, You're Welcome World, the mid to late 90s saw one of the sharpest decreases in comic book sales in history. The comic book industry as a whole reacted like any good business would. Sweet, sweet greed. They inflated the market with variant covers and so-called collectibles. The market reacted, sales plummeted, and the comic bubble burst like the dot-com boom did to Napster Sean Parker. Especially Marvel, who went into bankruptcy in 1996. And so, while middle schoolers were slamming their Simpsons pogs and worshiping at the altar of Lisa Frank, the executives at Marvel were just trying to keep their Zach Morris cell phones working. Their lack of money meant they had to do two things: pass up on film rights that reverted back to them, such as what happened to both X-Men and Fantastic Four in 1999, and toss out the rights they did have. So they formed Marvel Entertainment, where they could develop and package the films before licensing the properties to studios that could actually produce and distribute them. This is how Wesley Snipes became Blade in 1998 for New Line Cinema. Coincidentally, this is also how Wesley Snipes almost became the Black Panther, except that no studio wanted that, proving that given a long enough period of time, Hollywood will eventually do the right thing. So at the end of the tumultuous 90s, how has everything shaked out? 20th Century Fox snatched up the X-Men film rights in 1993. They have all the X-Men, from Angel and Bishop to Wolfsbane and Warpath, and everyone in between. They also have the Phoenix Force, Weapon X, the New Mutants, as well as the word mutants, which is why we're now having to deal with Marvel and all this weird Inhumans mumbo-jumbo, well, presumably. So what about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver? They premiered in X-Men, but they've been Avengers just as much, so they're shared in some way. Our Lord and Savior Joss Whedon famously used them in Avengers, Age of Ultron, but had to change their origin because Fox owns the right to use mutant. This explains why the former mutants became a Hydra experiment that gave them superhuman abilities. Creatively, Fox still has to check in with Marvel on how they're used, but both studios own the rights to use them. This deal only applies to those two characters. Fox also has the rights to Fantastic Four, sort of. As far as we can tell, Constantine Films still seems to maintain some of those film rights, though they're obviously shared with Fox. This is actually a bigger deal than the X-Men rights because Fantastic Four has so much connected to it, such as Galactus, Silver Surfer, Terrax, the Negative Zone, and Annihilus. It's likely they have Agatha Harkness, and possible they have Uatu the Watcher. Thankfully, both the Kree and the Skrulls are shared by both Marvel and Fox, though Fox gets exclusivity on the Super Skrulls, lucky bastards. But wait, this one's weird. Fox has the rights to Kang the Conqueror, who has henched for both the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. We told you it was confusing. Now, until recently, Fox also had the rights to Ego the Living Planet, but they made a deal with Marvel so they could change the power set for Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who they used in Deadpool. Sony bought the film rights to Spider-Man in 1999 after a decade of legal battles with a couple of studios and James Cameron, who incidentally wanted to use Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Dr. Octopus. We should sue James Cameron just for that. Get to the spider. With the Spider-Man license, Sony also maintains the rights to Venom, Green Goblin, J. Jonah Jameson, Black Cat, Mary Jane Watson, and the Daily Bugle. Coincidentally, this is why we don't see reporter Ben Urich working for the Bugle on Netflix's Daredevil. Speaking of Daredevil, Fox had the rights to that property and lost them to Marvel in August of 2012. You see, these rights all have ticking clocks, which means the studios have a fixed period of time to be in production on the next movie or they lose the rights. So if Fox couldn't get Daredevil into production in time, the rights would revert back to Marvel. Joe Carnahan, fresh off the success of The Grey, pitched a gritty 1970s set Daredevil movie that Fox loved, but time ran out before it could get into production. Hence the reason why Daredevil is on Netflix and crushing those one-take fight sequences. Also interesting is Marvel's very own angry green rage monster, the Hulk. Universal still technically has distribution rights, though they don't have full licensing rights, at least not as far as we can tell. Our guess is that putting Hulk in the title of the film immediately pulls Universal into the deal, which is why we're getting Planet Thor in Ragnarok and not Planet Hulk. As for Ghost Rider, who was at Dimension, Blade, who was at New Line, and Man-Thing, who was at Universal, don't worry, Marvel Studios got all of them back. That epic giant-sized Man-Thing movie you've been waiting for? Yeah, it's right around the corner. Marvel Studios didn't actually start making their own films until Iron Man in 2008. They got his film rights back from New Line in 2005. The studio now has him, Thor, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Black Widow, The Punisher, all of which were at one time with other studios. Just about the only property Marvel has always had is Captain America, and even that was made into a terrible movie in 1990 by Cadence Films. But now we have this. And they all lived happily ever after, except for Terrence Howard.
All right, guys, we do this show live every day, Monday through Friday, and as such, we like to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take your live Twitter questions. We're going to do that today. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, simply @ColliderVideo, and start tweeting in your questions now, and Wendy will pick out a couple near the end of the show. I also want to remind you that Movie Talk is not the only show going up on Collider Video today. A little bit earlier today, the newest episode of Nightmares hit online. Make sure you can go and find that right now on our YouTube page. All right, guys, it's time for us to get to mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Ashley, what do we got in the mailbag?
Kirk J. writes, with Bryan Singer leaving the X-Men franchise, coupled with the lukewarm reception of X-Men Apocalypse, if the X-Men franchise is going to be rebooted, as reported by THR, who should be in the directing chair? My pick is J.J. Abrams. He is known to breathe new life into stagnant film franchises, Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and set up Star Wars for future success. If the next X-Men film is about going into outer space, Abrams may be the perfect guy to helm. Thanks.
Well, look, it's important to remember that report in THR, the Hollywood Reporter, didn't say that is what they're doing. That report simply said they are considering doing that. So, okay, maybe they'll reboot it, maybe they won't. You know, Bryan Singer has not yet come out and officially said he's done with X-Men, not at all. So there's a lot of speculation, a lot of ifs surrounding all of this. But let's say Bryan Singer doesn't come back to do any more X-Men films. Who takes it over? I don't know. Like, my opinion on this is always there's 1,000 really talented directors out there. The J.J. Abrams ones, you make a very good case for J.J. Abrams. He's really good at coming in with existing franchise, giving them a shot of adrenaline. He does a pretty good job setting them up for future success. That's not bad, but there's 1,000 other directors I could see as well. However, if they do reboot it, they ain't going to space. If they reboot X-Men, they're not going to reboot it with a fresh new chapter 1 and start with that as an intergalactic story. They're not going to do that. Maybe you could get somewhere there around film 3, 4, or 5, but it's not going to start off there. Anyway, do you got anybody fresh in your mind, Schnepp, about that you think could step in and actually direct an X-Men film?
Well, I mean, for me, the way I consider the X-Men franchise is it's kind of locked in. It's not going to get a brand new anybody. So the way I look at it is like, well, Simon Kinberg has been kind of shepherding it, and now I've heard rumor that he possibly might direct this like reboot or requel or whatever you want to call it, where we still have those original X-Men from Apocalypse, but we've moved forward like 5 or 10 years. I'm more interested in seeing that than a brand new, fresh reboot, because I don't think they're going to do that, especially with the Deadpool universe going on. I think they're going to want to try to keep some semblance of like, look, what can we save from X-Men Apocalypse and continue forward with the X-Mansion? So I see that kind of happening more. So like using those X-Men, the young X-Men that they established in X-Men Apocalypse, moving forward and having Kinberg actually direct it.
Mark?
I think whoever's going to be rebooting the X-Men franchise is like 10 years old right now. Like, there's kids that are making home movies with their iPhones that are probably going to be in charge of this thing, because like that makes a great point with Deadpool. It's like, let Deadpool breathe. Even if you don't want to make, I didn't hate X-Men Apocalypse, but I didn't walk out of that movie and think like, oh, okay, we got a really bright future here either. Maybe you just shelve the X-Men movies for a little bit. You focus on Deadpool. That way he can have a fun adventure with Wolverine. You can bring in X-Men characters as you see fit into a Deadpool universe. If I had to launch it right now as a reboot, I think the person I would look to, unfortunately, the two names that I really want are already on comic book properties, and that's Ryan Coogler and Patty Jenkins. Like, Ryan Coogler especially is a guy who breathed life into a franchise, into the Rocky franchise. So if I can't take him, I'm looking at Jonathan Vogt-Roberts, who is doing Kong Skull Island, which is breathing life into a new franchise. I would like to see that movie before I give him the keys to everything. Fede Alvarez is my dark horse pick. Because he comes from a horror background, but he did a great thing with Evil Dead, getting that back into prominence.
And we just saw him do something great with Don't Breathe. Great point, Jeremy.
You know what's great is no matter what happens with X-Men, it's just more material for Deadpool to break the fourth wall on. You know, it's like if they make more, he gets to talk about how they're making new stuff. If they don't, he can talk about how it's on hold. He goes to the mansion like, oh, no one's here? No kidding. You guys haven't made a movie in like 5 years, you know? Right. So no matter what happens, Deadpool is going to he's going to profit from all of this, as if he's like a real person. Like Deadpool is going to profit from it. But I always, I mean, in a world where I'm horrible at picking a director, I always liked where Matthew Vaughn was going with First Class, and I always wanted to see what he would have done. It'll never happen. Matthew Vaughn won't be the guy to helm X-Men, but I always wanted to see where he would have gone had he made a trilogy or something. So I'd like to see Matthew Vaughn do it.
All right, what's next?
Jack Veer writes, Hi Collider from Malton, Ontario, Canada. With the recent use of CGI to make actors look younger, like Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War and Michael Douglas in Ant-Man, will this use of CGI, aka Benjamin Button technology, become a trend in Hollywood? Could we see actors as their younger selves in more movies as a way to keep their youth appeal? For example, what if movie studios keep making stars like Leo DiCaprio, Tom Cruise, and Jennifer Lawrence look young so they can appeal to audiences for longer periods of time? Is this ethical or a worthwhile idea? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Is it ethical? It's completely ethical. Digital makeup is no different than putting on any other kind of makeup. I mean, it's not what they really look like. It's the movies. They're playing somebody else. So is it ethical? It's completely ethical. Now, you get into other questions about can you use CG versions of characters after they passed away. That gets in a whole nother discussion. What a lot of people, I find, because Schnepp, you and I talk about this all the time, what a lot of people tend to forget is that, yeah, we saw Robert Downey Jr. look younger in Civil War for a brief scene that still looked a little bit off with very little movement. It was the same thing with Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. I mean, it was just one finite scene with pretty much just linear movement with him as the character. It's one thing to do that. It's another thing to do it for an entire movie with all types of angles, with heads moving and stuff like that. It's a different beast, and they're not quite there yet. They will get there eventually. And when they do, I'm sure they'll employ it a little bit more. But as of right now, we're not quite there. Schnepp, how would you address that?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's called the uncanny valley, and we are not there yet. I mean, the one biggest fault that, for me, with Rogue One is the computer graphic characters. It threw me out of the movie. Some people say they couldn't notice it or didn't notice it, but to me, the minute I saw the character, I felt like I was watching a video game cutscene, and it ruined most of those scenes for the movie with a character that should have had a lot of impact for me, almost so that I have to see it again another time just to because I was thinking about why are they doing a CG character and not really paying attention to the film because it threw me out. At least for me, I know a lot of people didn't have that, but for me it's like, especially if it's a bad effect with a human being, we could do cars, we could do boats, we could do buildings. I mean, all those things look completely photorealistic now, like actually realistic, and we can't tell the difference now when you're watching a movie. A background is completely fake, it's green screen. You would never know that. Most TV shows now actually do green screen shots when you see characters walking around outside because it's less expensive to shut down an entire street just to have somebody cross the street. So they'll go shoot a background plate and we'll throw the actor in front of it. You would never notice how many thousands of shots that you see every day when you watch a TV show that aren't real. But when it comes to a human being, we don't have that on lock yet. Even Princess Leia in a scene that you might see somewhere in a film, you will notice that it's not realistic. So for myself, come on, it's 2017. If people haven't seen Rogue One, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. I'm not going to feel bad about that. But I'm just saying the uncanny valley is not there yet.
Jeremy?
Well, you do make a point. It is 2017. It is the next year. Isn't Robert De Niro going to be made to look young in a movie that's coming out? Didn't I hear that?
Yes,
the
Irishman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is it the whole movie?
It is. It's
No, it's going to
segments
be. It's
back
going to
and
be.
forth.
Yeah, the segments.
Okay,
yeah.
so the segment. I think I do see where they were going with the question of is it ethical, because it's going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, here's a new part for a new actor. Why would we do that? Well, we could just have DiCaprio look 20 years old. We can have 20-year-old DiCaprio. I feel like in the not too distant future, someone's going to try to make a movie where everyone is young in their prime. It's going to be like when Trey Parker and Matt Stone did Team America. And they're going to be like, we shouldn't have taken that on. It was too much. We shouldn't have done that. So I don't think it's going to become a trend. And like you said, we're not there yet. You can always still tell. So will it happen? Probably eventually, but I don't think it'll be like when LPs came back. It was like, oh, we have CDs, now MP3s. All right, well, the real stuff, the other stuff's better, so we're just going to go back and real people.
Can I quickly add that picture, though, of Douglas? The way they shot that was with Michael Douglas, and they just had those little buttons on. So you could still those are his real eyes. So there's a certain thing. There's a life to when they do that, and that's how Scorsese is doing all the shots with De Niro. They're shooting him with all the little buttons and stuff on his face, so that De Niro's acting will still come through, and they're just going to smooth it out with like a basically putting a young mask on top of his face. That works a lot better than a completely CG character.
Yeah,
But-
still incredibly time intensive though, and incredibly complex.
And don't I know it? I'm 73 years old. This is how I look, thanks to the geniuses and the Imagineers at Movie Talk. Look, it does get to a place where you do question the ethics, especially if somebody's already passed away, or it just becomes unethical if it allows Vin Diesel to do like 100 more Triple X movies. We don't need it. Thanks, buddy. I think that Rogue One took a big leap forward with what it did. It didn't get us there yet, didn't get us over the valley, so to speak, but I don't have a problem with it as long as it doesn't continue to take us so far out of the movie that we can't get invested in the story. But I think Rogue One was a huge step in the right direction.
All right, guys. Well, I said we'd take some of your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video. So, Wendy, what have you picked out for us today?
The first one comes from David Varea, who writes, "What do you think about people still walking out before the post-credit scenes in Marvel and DC films?"
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me, first of all, it's your total right to do that.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that sometimes, like, I know there's a post-credit scene coming, and I see people getting out, and I almost feel responsible to say, no, wait. Like I feel like, is it weird if I do that? Is it weird if I don't? So I'm sitting in my chair, and I never know what to do, whether I should yell at the people.
I'm such much more of a jerk. I'm like idiots. When I instantly think it's morons. They're gonna be like, "What? What did I miss that?" Yeah, it's a Marvel film.
Yeah.
You know?
I always think to myself, I'm like, yeah, they're missing out. And I'm like, traffic's going to suck when I leave this place. That's what I think. And then you have those movies that clearly have no post-credit scene, and everyone sits down for the entirety, and every usher in every movie theater is like, I hate Marvel right now. I hate them for what they did.
I do remember, like, the first time we saw Rogue One, and nobody would move. It's like, well, what do you think? Yeah, there is a post-credit scene. It's called Episode 4. Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
I think I got up. I think I was like, look, I want to be first in line at the bar at the
knew.
after party because I knew that line was going to be pretty long. I think maybe is there some sort of responsibility on the people that work at movie theaters to just tell us when we buy the ticket or when we walk in, like, hey, what movie? Oh, yeah, you should stay to the end or you should not stay to the end. Just let us know, or maybe just, like, put it on the marquee. Like, there's going to be a post-credit scene.
Guys like me had your back, Mark. We just turn on the house lights. I click, there's nothing there. I never did that.
All right, what's next?
Henry N. writes, "What do you think of movie composer Hans Zimmer performing at Coachella?"
I think it was really interesting. Somebody sent that. I read about that somewhere. Like, I don't know if that's just an idea that somebody's floating or if that's actually been announced.
It's been announced on, I'm reading the article on Verge. It's been confirmed on Twitter, it looks
Okay,
like.
so they're going to... Hey, look, it's a music festival. The dude's a genius musician. Why not? I think it's a great idea.
That makes total sense because he did a lot of collabs with Junkie XL.
Yeah.
So they're going to probably do like some kind of weird like Hans Zimmer mix, a bunch of DJs mixing up Hans Zimmer, a bunch of people all dancing at Coachella. Sounds lame to me.
What do you think?
I think it's awesome, man. I mean, I would actually be, because I saw the lineup for Coachella, and I'm a fan of some of the musical acts, but I think Hans Zimmer would be in my top 5 of people I actually want to see because the guy is a legend. He's done a lot of great movies, and he could kind of score like what we see with John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl every year, where he shows up, he scores some scenes. I saw Danny Elfman score The Night Before Christmas live at the Hollywood Bowl, the entire thing, and it's awesome. It's a really cool way to see a movie for the first time again. They were doing that with Home Alone near where I grew up in Virginia. They had a live orchestra scoring Home Alone for the entire movie. And it's kind of a cool way to see something.
Yeah, not taking anything away from John Williams' lordship, but Hans Zimmer is one of the best working today. You know, anytime you can get Hans Zimmer music in any form whatsoever, I'll totally take it. It's very malleable music too. You can really play. You can have Hans Zimmer at most anything, any event. Be like, can you make it work? And be like, yeah, and it'll totally work. So
you can at least do the bong,
right,
like the Inception
right.
bong. Yeah.
All right, let's take 2 more.
All right, this one comes from Dylan Pawlaki, who writes, "Is there a chance that Harrelson could be playing Has Obit, who was introduced in Catalyst? It would seem to make sense."
I don't think so. I think this is going to be a brand new character we're going to see in here. Look, I'm not one of these guys who has to look for connections between every piece of existing Star Wars property. Like, it's okay to just bring in a new character. And I do think this is... Look, it's actually not an unreasonable guess, though. I mean, that makes sense. But I think he's going to be a completely new character. Any other thoughts?
Are you guys sitting down? I read Catalyst. I still don't think it's going to be that character. I think it is going to be somebody new.
Yeah, the world's big place, a solar system's bigger, a galaxy's bigger. It's one of those things where not everyone in our world has to be connected, let alone someone in another galaxy. So yeah, I think when you start connecting everything too much, it really loses the flavor of reality. So I think it'll be new.
I've been told his name is Crom's Krylink, so.
Take that to the bank. All right, last question of the day.
This one comes from Jedi DC Marvelite, who writes, do you see Alien Covenant performing well at the box office amidst Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Pirates 5?
Well is a very flexible term. It depends on what well means. Would it do well for a Star Wars movie? No. It's not going to make $150 million opening weekend. It depends on what their expectations are. I think it'll do okay. I mean, look, this is a property that is a little bit past its prime. This is a property that is past its prime. That doesn't mean this movie can't usher it back into a new age. Maybe it can. I expect $55 million opening weekend for Covenant. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'm gonna go $200 million. I'm just I think that's a pretty good over under what you just said. I would go a little over with 60 because it has as juicy of a release date as you could possibly hope for in a packed May, where you do have Guardians. It is 2 weeks before Alien Covenant. Alien Covenant comes out the 19th. Then the next week you have Pirates 5, and you also have Baywatch coming out that weekend. I think that Alien is going to attract a slightly different audience from either one of those movies that are coming out the following week. So I think it will be able to have some sort of legs. And Wonder Woman is June 2nd. It's going to blow everything out of the water. But I think Alien Covenant could do 60, 65 even.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm always way more optimistic. I take what I think, and then I deduct 10. I was thinking 70, which means 60. But, I mean, if you talk about a franchise that I think it's past its prime, it's the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Not that people living now don't have fond memories of it, so they'll probably check it out. But it's one of those franchises that definitely that should die well before Alien and what they're doing. It's also a rated R movie, which takes away from a lot of people who can go see it and money. It is rated R, right? I'm not making that out.
Yeah, it's definitely.
The trailer looked pretty rated R.
They have a red band trailer.
Yeah, right. Alien was busting out a back.
Prometheus opened at $50 million.
Yeah.
$51 million. Now, it wasn't the best reviewed movie of the year.
And it also wasn't an Alien movie.
And it wasn't a strict Alien movie either, so that might balance out. I think we could be looking at 60.
Although, could the mixed reviews of Prometheus hurt this? I'll tell you what it did, though. They just did themselves a great favor with a great first trailer.
Great first trailer. And if they screen it for critics, Underworld, no. If they screen it for critics and ahead of time and people are really starting to buzz about this movie, I think you could see a really nice box office return.
I think with the reviews, if this is like, oh, it's a return to the Alien franchise with the original director, if reviews say you've got to see this film, then yes, it's going to make 60
He's not
million.
directing this, though.
He is. Ridley
Scott
Scott
is directing it.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of the Blade Runner where he was going to direct, but then let somebody else
he's
step
directing
in.
this. He's taken over the Alien franchise. He's doing this one and the next one.
Just talking about this gets me really excited.
No, I agree.
You notice there's nothing coming out about the Neil Blomkamp Alien anymore?
Well, that's on ice.
That's all. But
That's
I think it's more than ice. I think it's like it's been swept away.
I think they have to wait until Ridley Scott finishes not only the Alien Covenant but the one after this, so that it ties it all together. Then they could do that one if they want to.
Chappie brought the guy back to Alien. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this installment of Movie Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You guys can find me here on Collider Movie Talk, Heroes and Nightmares, and online. Just check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Schnepp.
Of course, a new episode of Heroes went online yesterday. Mr. Jeremy Jahns, where can people find you?
You can find me at Jeremy Jahns on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, at Real Jeremy Jahns on Facebook.
And of course, you have a brand new show.
We're announcing this.
Oh, yeah. We're letting people know about
Ooh.
this. You have a brand new show called Awesome-tacular. On the Verizon Go 90 network.
And it truly is Awesome-tacular. I'm just saying, it's no other name would fit better than that. It's fun stuff. We talk movies, we talk video games, which is a thing I wanted to do for a while. And John was like, "You want to do a video game thing?" I'm like, "It's like this." Yes, and I've wanted to since I did YouTube. Since I haven't, I think this is the way I'm going to do it, so let's do that. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check that out.
And you have a wonderful co-host with you during the video game segment with Gamer Next Door's Pamela Horton.
Pam Horton and I sit down. We talk while we play video games. It's fun stuff. We love talking games. We love talking trash to each other a little bit. She talks way more trash because I'm a professional. I love Pam. And you watch me die a lot in video games. That's always fun. And you watch her win a lot in video games, and that's more fun.
And you get appearances by these two guys, too. Jon Schnepp makes an appearance. Mark Ellis makes an appearance.
Where we all sit around and we talk movies. I'm like, Mark, what do we got on movies? Schnepp, what do we got in comic books? Let's talk the good stuff. Let's get sweaty. Because let's face it, this side of the table, this is the sweaty side right over here. This is as nerdy as it gets. And we have the Pope, the Cardinal.
So the first episode airs on Verizon Go 90s network this weekend. Make sure you check that out. Over here, Mr. Mark Ellis.
Congrats on your new show, Jeremy. I'll be cleaning the toilets of the Vatican for the better part of next week. I'll also be at the Omaha Funny Bone this week, and you guys can get tickets at markellislive.com. New tour dates coming next week.
Miss Ashley Mova.
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Wednesday, guys.
One of these days, we're going to have to tell you her alternate title for the upcoming Ice Cube movie, Fist Fight.
Oh, Mark will reveal that later. That sounded really weird. All right, Wendy.
Wendy Lee.
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.